I feel foolish for ignoring my mother's plea for me to get involved with her new family, even after I achieved wealth. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell for notifications. My mother left my father when I was 17, and now, at 29, she already had a new boyfriend almost immediately. We suspected she was cheating before, but there was never concrete evidence. To this day, she refuses to admit she had 2 more children with this man. When my parents separated, I chose to live with my father, who moved back in with his parents. The main reason was that my mother asked me to leave since I kept fighting with her new boyfriend. I didn't want to deal with this new figure in her life, and I was deeply hurt that she didn't care about the pain she caused my father when she asked me to leave. Something changed within me, and I still can't forgive her. The situation worsened when my 14-year-old sister decided to live with my father after spending a year with my mother. She disliked my mother's house so much that she begged to move. This made me realize that the situation at her house must be bad because my sister and my mother were close. Since I was 18, my grandparents had been pressuring me to start a business, seeing potential in the specialized tools I developed for the construction sector my father worked in. They gave me a significant investment, mortgaging their house again. Fortunately, I managed to secure national contracts at 24, turning it into millions in a few months. Since then, the business's profit trajectory has increased, and now I'm living a life I never imagined. I moved with my father, sister, and grandparents to the East Coast, starting a new life. I am surrounded by people who see the best in me, and I am grateful for that. However, my mother insists more and more that I visit her, along with her boyfriend and the half-siblings I have. She tries to blame me for the more privileged life my sister and half-siblings have now. She says that even if I don't forgive her, I should take care of the children because they are innocent in all of this. However, in my daily life, I have no interest in helping her or her new family. In my opinion, she made the bed she must lie in. Sometimes guilt consumes me, but I simply can't forgive her. I feel foolish for ignoring my mother's request to get involved with her new family now that I am rich. There were interesting comments in response to this, one of which pointed out that, in the last 2 years or more, my mother has insisted that I reconcile with her. The comment suggested that my mother had no interest in a relationship with me until it was beneficial for her and her new family. If I want to provide a fund for the half-siblings' college, something my mother can't touch, I should do it. Otherwise, I shouldn't feel guilty because my mother created this mess, and I have no obligation to her. You don't need to carry the guilt for your success, but Op's response was different. Instead of trying to ease the guilt of raising his half-siblings, he said something like, "Yes, I keep reminding myself of that, but in a strange way, I feel like I want to win back her love. I know she made her choices when I was a child, but I feel that maybe if I could slowly reconnect with her, she would magically wait for me again like she did when I was 12. However, I know that this is not really the reality, which seems to be a recipe for a mass disappointment. Even if Op was able to communicate this desire directly to his mother, and she heard and understood, I feel like it would end up being a strange transaction where the mother would say something like, "Yes, dear, I love you," about that money. The concept of having to win back a mother's love when Op did nothing wrong in the first place is just sad. Another curious question someone asked was if the person is equally intense in trying to repair the relationship with the sister, who is not rich. Op's response was that he also contacted the sister, but she didn't respond and has no interest in talking to the mother again, as she truly felt abandoned by her. I don't know if it's possible to undo the feeling of being abandoned. Once you're abandoned for the rest of the time, and many people will constantly be waiting for the next time they will be abandoned by that person, sometimes even turning it into relationships with other people. In the second situation, a 28-year-old questions whether he's an idiot for kicking his friend out of the room so that his wife could take a nap. He explains that his 27-year-old wife works full-time as a CNA and is attending school to become an autopsy technician. She's constantly picking up extra shifts, working double and even triple shifts, in addition to attending school full-time. Therefore, she often takes a nap after work. Yesterday, the friend was at their house playing video games when the wife called to inform that she was coming back from work, exhausted. He offered to pick her up, but she said she was fine to drive and would see him later. The individual goes back to playing video games, noting that their only TV is in the bedroom, and he was lying on the bed playing while the friend was sitting in his chair. About 15 minutes later, I hear my wife come home and call me to let me know she's back. I go to the living room and give her a kiss, noticing that she almost collapses into my arms, exhausted to the point where she can barely walk to the bedroom. I ask if everything is okay, and she assures me it is, just a long day of work, really needing a nap. I nod and suggest she lie down in bed when we get to the room. Politely, I ask my friend to leave, explaining that my wife is exhausted and we can play later that night. He questions why he needs to leave and why my wife can't just sleep while we continue playing. I explain that it's just a game, and my wife's needs come first. He gets upset, slams the controller on the dresser, and leaves, but before leaving, he turns to my wife and says sarcastically, "Well, I beg, happy. It always feels like I have to choose you over everyone else." He leaves, slamming the door on the way out. My wife turns to me, apologizing and suggesting that she could have slept on the couch. I reiterate that no, and encourage her to rest later. Later, my other friends start messaging, saying things like brothers before girls and criticizing for considering it rude to kick my friend out just so my wife could rest. However, the married friends are on my side, stating that the wife's needs come first. Now, my friend refuses to talk to me unless I apologize. I feel like an idiot for kicking my friend out of the room so that my wife could rest. It seems absurd that he reacted this way when my wife was clearly exhausted. However, I realize there may be built-up resentment regarding the relationship between me and my wife. Perhaps he feels excluded, as if I'm prioritizing my wife over our friendship. The strange situation makes me wonder if this had been building up for a while, and this moment was just a catalyst for his sincere outburst of feelings. Let me know how you would handle this situation and if you think I acted foolishly, and why. My 15-year-old daughter, Liz, discovered her passion for cooking after adopting a vegan diet. Before, she was quite picky about food, but I encouraged her to explore new meals. However, my husband doesn't appreciate this change. Even though Liz still shares the table with us, he considers it disrespectful for her to have a different diet and believes she should just adapt to what we're eating. I found this ridiculous and asked him to leave Liz alone. However, he became increasingly irritated, claiming Liz had no permission to use the kitchen utensils since he paid for everything. Faced with this decision, I decided to buy all the necessary tools for Liz to prepare her own meals. She covers her expenses, so I don't see any problem with that. Last night, while I was out, Liz called crying, revealing that my husband had thrown away all the tools I bought for her. When I came back home, I confronted my husband, arguing that those tools were not his. He insisted that Liz was cooking in his kitchen, and he hadn't authorized my intervention. I was furious, accusing him of making excuses to prevent Liz from cooking. He claimed that Liz was acting like a spoiled child, and I repeatedly allowed her to disrespect us by letting her prepare her own meals instead of appreciating what was on the table. The argument escalated, and, annoyed, I went upstairs, followed by my husband, who accused me of avoiding responsibilities and encouraging Liz to be selfish. I refused to continue the conversation. My husband demanded that I apologize for reacting with anger and swearing. As for the reason for letting Liz buy her own groceries, she uses the money I give her and has more knowledge about vegan products. Additionally, there's a cultural factor, as we are from Latin America, and my husband is the main provider for the family. Not everyone can adopt a vegan diet due to my younger children, who don't eat vegetables. I feel confused about whether I acted like a fool when my husband threw away the kitchen utensils I bought for Liz. It's challenging to understand why some families react so negatively to different dietary choices, even when the person is self-sufficient. It seems that sometimes prejudice manifests in surprising ways, even when the person is not a financial burden and still shows respect at the table. So, I would go out and buy all kinds of vegan food, making him adapt to his daughter's diet. Perhaps, after a few meatless nights, he would realize it's preferable to let her cook her own meals. After all, at 15, that's a valuable and essential life skill he's preventing her from developing. Why he feels so jealous of her eating vegan food is something I can't understand. I would completely stop buying animal products and fill the fridge and cabinets with all the vegan options my daughter would like. Additionally, I would start cooking those meals for him. This way, the whole family could gather to eat, eliminating any reason for him to complain. This malicious compliance seems absolutely necessary here. I feel that this situation could turn into a bigger fight, but I would like to know your opinion below. Am I an idiot or not, and why? As for the second part, about not wanting to pay my father's medical bills, I am a 29-year-old woman. My parents divorced when I was about 10 years old, and since then, I have had no contact with my father for over 18 years. He chose to prioritize his new family over my brother and me. There were no visits, and when we called to ask when he would visit us, he always claimed to be busy. Before the divorce, I was Daddy's little girl, his beloved golden child. Him leaving us caused a deep and lasting wound in my heart, a hurt that I will never forgive him for inflicting. He never paid child support, and my mother, as a single mother, had to support us. Even though we had 50-50 custody, he completely withdrew from our lives. Thanks to my mother's love and care, I forgot about him and moved on with my life. Now, after so many years, his 33-year-old stepson contacted, asking us to pay my father's medical bills. I don't consider this my responsibility because he lost all rights to be my father when he chose not to have contact with us anymore. Although he claims a serious medical condition and has sent medical reports, I believe the years of unpaid child support could have been used to cover these expenses. After rejecting the proposal, I was called a vengeful and heartless bee. I blocked the person and, talking to my mother about it, she suggested that, despite the right to be angry, I could help them a little. However, I firmly refused. I would assume his bills. He has responsibilities to his children, so let them handle it. He made his bed, now let him lie in it. It was me who acted like a fool by allowing the father not to contact the offspring directly. Instead, he sent his stepson to do it. This suggests that he is so debilitated by the medical situation that he couldn't contact directly or simply didn't have the courage to face the offspring, resorting to another person to ask for money, with screenshots of the bills and everything. If that's the case, it seems like a quite cowardly way to deal with the situation. There was an update in the OP's response with some clarifications. She mentioned that she never recognized the stepson as her half-brother because her father had no contact after joining the new wife. Regardless of whether her father recognized or dismissed the stepson, there was never an attempt to see or talk to him in 18 years. The OP claimed to have reached out to invite him to her 21st birthday party, hoping he would come, but he chose to be with his daughter on the same weekend. This episode left her heartbroken, deciding that even if he dies, she won't attend his funeral. Answering the question, on a separate note, her mother may be considered foolish for not seeking child support, which is not for her but for the OP and her brother. The mother wishes the OP to contribute, but she wanted nothing to do with the father, refusing to let his money be used to support the children's education. The OP understands her mother's decision, as she witnessed the physical and mental impact the father had on her during the marriage. Even though her parents are financially stable and support her without restrictions, money has never been the issue for the family. The OP continues to feel extremely guilty for ignoring her mother's pain and promises to continue feeling bad for the rest of her life. However, she emphasizes the importance of the OP deciding for herself, without the mother's influence, whether she wants to deal with the situation. Ultimately, the choice is hers, regardless of what the mother says she should do. If you were in her shoes, what would you do in this situation? Idiot or not, and why? Thank you all for watching until the end of this HistoReddit channel video. I hope you enjoyed the shared stories. If you liked it, please don't hesitate to share with friends and family. If you're not subscribed yet, I invite you to subscribe, leave your like, and activate the notification bell to not miss any content. Thanks for the ongoing support, and until the next video.